Problem of Thor Bridge. Somewhere in the vaults of the Bank of Cox & Co. at Charing Cross there is a worn and battered tin dispatch box with my name, John H. Watson M.D., late Indian Army, painted upon the lid. It is crammed with papers, nearly all of which are records of cases to illustrate the curious problems which Mr. Sherlock Holmes had at various times to examine. Some, and not the least interesting, were complete failures, and as such will hardly bear narrating, since no final explanation is forthcoming. A problem without a solution may interest the student, but can hardly fail to annoy the casual reader. Among these unfinished tales is that of Mr. James Phillimore, who, stepping back into his own house to get his umbrella, was never more seen in this world. No less remarkable is that of the cutter Alicia, which sailed one spring morning into a small patch of mist, from where she never again emerged, nor was anything further ever heard of herself and her crew. A third case worthy of note is that of Isidoro Persano, the well-known journalist and duelist, who was found stark staring mad with a matchbox in front of him which contained a remarkable worm, said to be unknown to science. Apart from these unfathomed cases, there are some which involve the secrets of private families to an extent which would mean consternation in many exalted quarters, if it were thought possible that they might find their way into print. I need not say that such a breach of confidence is unthinkable, and that these records will be separated and destroyed now that my friend has time to turn his energies to the matter. There remain a considerable residue of cases of greater or less interest, which I might have edited before had I not feared to give the public a surfeit, which might react upon the reputation of the man whom above all others I revere. In some I was myself concerned and can speak as an eye-witness, while in others I was either not present or played so small a part that they could only be told as by a third person. The following narrative is drawn from my own experience. It was a wild morning in October, and I observed as I was dressing how the last remaining leaves were being whirled from the solitary plane tree which graces the yard behind our house. I descended to breakfast prepared to find my companion in depressed spirits, for, like all great artists, he was easily impressed by his surroundings. On the contrary, I found that he had nearly finished his meal, and that his mood was particularly bright and joyous, with that somewhat sinister cheerfulness which was characteristic of his lighter moments.
"You have a case, Holmes."
The faculty of deduction is certainly contagious, Watson,
he answered.
It has enabled you to probe my secret. Yes, I have a case. After a month of trivialities and stagnation, the wheels move once more.
Might I share it?
There is little to share, but we may discuss it when you have consumed the 2 hard, boiled eggs with which our new cook has favored us. Their condition may not be unconnected with the copy of the Family Herald which I observed yesterday upon the hall table. Even so trivial a matter as cooking an egg demands an attention which is conscious of the passage of time, and incompatible with the love romance in that excellent periodical.
A quarter of an hour later the table had been cleared and we were face to face. He had drawn a letter from his pocket.
"You have heard of Neil Gibson, the Gold King?"
he said.
You mean the American senator?
Well, he was once senator for some western state, but is better known as the greatest gold mining magnate in the world.
Yes, I know of him. He has surely lived in England for some time. His name is very familiar.
Yes, he bought a considerable estate in Hampshire some 5 years ago. Possibly you have already heard of the tragic end of his wife?
Of course, I remember it now. That is why the name is familiar, but I really know nothing of the details.
Holmes waved his hand towards some papers on a chair.
I had no idea that the case was coming my way, or I should have had my extracts ready,
said he.
The fact is that the problem, though exceedingly sensational, appeared to present no difficulty. The interesting personality of the accused does not obscure the clearness of the evidence. It is now referred to the assizes at Winchester. I fear it is a thankless business. I can discover facts, Watson, but I cannot change them. Unless some entirely new ones come to light, I do not see what my client can hope for.
Your client?
Ah, I forgot I had not told you. I am getting into your involved habit, Watson, of telling a story backwards. You had best read this first.
The letter which he handed to me, written in a bold, masterful hand, ran as follows: Celeragis Hotel, October 3rd, Dharma R. Carl Kalamies.
I can't see the best woman God ever made go to her death without doing all that is possible to save her. I can't explain things, I can't even try to explain them, but I know beyond all doubt that Miss Dunbar is innocent. You know the facts, who doesn't? It has been the gossip of the country, and never a voice raised for her. It's the damned injustice of it all that makes me crazy. Well, I'll come at 11 tomorrow and see if you can get some ray of light in the dark. Maybe I have a clue and don't know it. Anyhow, all I know and all I have and all I am are for your use if only you can save her. Yours faithfully, Jane L. Gibson.
There you have it, said Sherlock Holmes, knocking out the ashes of his after-breakfast pipe and slowly refilling it.
That is the gentleman I await. As to the story, you have hardly time to master all these papers,
said he.
so I must give it to you in a nutshell if you are to take an intelligent interest in the proceedings. This man is the greatest financial power in the world, and a man, as I understand, of most violent and formidable character. He married a wife, the victim of this tragedy, of whom I know nothing save that she was past her prime, which was the more unfortunate as a very attractive governess superintended the education of 2 young children. These are the 3 people concerned, and the scene is a grand old manor house, the center of an historical English estate. Then as to the tragedy. The wife was found in the grounds nearly half a mile from the house, late at night, clad in her dinner dress, with a shawl over her shoulders and a revolver bullet through her brain. No weapon was found near her, and there was no local clue as to the murder. No weapon near her, Watson, mark that. The crime seems to have been committed late in the evening, and the body was found by a gamekeeper about 11 o'clock.
It is all very clear. But why suspect the governess?
Well, in the first place there is some very direct evidence. A revolver with 1 discharged chamber, and a caliber which corresponded with the bullet was found on the floor of her wardrobe.
His eyes fixed, and he repeated in broken words,
Of the floor of her wardrobe.
Then he sank into silence, and I saw that some train of thought had been set moving which I should be foolish to interrupt.
Then the dead woman had a note upon her making an appointment at that very place and signed by the governess. How's that? Finally, there is the motive. Senator Gibson is an attractive person. If his wife dies, who more likely to succeed her than the young lady? Love, fortune, power, all depending upon one middle-aged life? Ugly, Watson, very ugly! Nor could she prove an alibi. On the contrary, she had to admit that she was down near Thor Bridge. That was the scene of the tragedy, about that hour. This bridge, a single broad span of stone with balustraded sides, carries the drive over the narrowest part of a long, deep, reed-girt sheet of water. Thor Mere it is called.
Billy had opened the door, but the name which he announced was an unexpected one. Mr. Marlowe Bates was a stranger to both of us. He was a thin, nervous wisp of a man with frightened eyes, and a twitching, hesitating manner man whom my own professional eye would judge to be on the brink of an absolute nervous breakdown.
You seem agitated, Mr. Bates?
Set?
Pray sit down. I fear I can only give you a short time, for I have an appointment at 11.
I know you have.
Our visitor gasped.
Mr. Gibson is coming. Mr. Gibson is my employer. I am manager of his estate. Mr. Holmes, he is a villain, an infernal villain.
Strong language, Mr. Bates.
I have to be emphatic, Mr. Holmes, for the time is so limited. I would not have him find me here for the world. His secretary, Mr. Ferguson, only told me this morning of his appointment with you.
And you are his manager?
I have given him notice. In a couple of weeks I shall have shaken off his accursed slavery. A hard man, Mr. Holmes, hard to all about him. Those public charities are a screen to cover his private iniquities. But his wife was his chief victim. He was brutal to her, yes sir, brutal. She was a creature of the tropics, a Brazilian by birth, as no doubt you know.
It had escaped me?
Tropical by birth and tropical by nature. A child of the sun and of passion. She had loved him as such women can love. But when her own physical charms had faded, there was nothing to hold him. We all liked her and felt for her and hated him for the way that he treated her. But he is plausible and cunning. That is all I have to say to you. Don't take him at his face value.
With a frightened look at the clock, our strange visitor literally ran to the door and disappeared.
Well,
said Holmes after an interval of silence.
Mr. Gibson seems to have a nice, loyal household. But the warning is a useful one, and now we can only wait till the man himself appears.
Sharp at the hour we heard a heavy step upon the stairs, and the famous millionaire was shown into the room. If I were a sculptor and desired to idealize the successful man of affairs, iron of nerve and leathery of conscience, I should choose Mr. Neil Gibson as my model. An Abraham Lincoln keyed to base uses instead of high ones would give some idea of the man. His face might have been chiseled in granite, hard-set, remorseless.
Let me say right here, Mr. Holmes, that money is nothing to me in this case. You can burn it if it's any use in lighting you to the truth. Name your figure.
My professional charges are upon a fixed scale. I do not vary them, save when I remit them altogether.
Well, if dollars make no difference to you, think of the reputation. You'll be the talk of 2 continents.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. I do not think that I am in need of booming. But we are wasting time. Let us get down to the facts. Well, there is just one point. What were the exact relations between you and Miss Dunbar?
The Gold King gave a violent start and half rose from his chair. Then his massive calm came back to him.
I suppose you are within your rights too. You may be doing your duty in asking such a question, Mr. Holmes.
We will agree to suppose so,
Said Holmes.
Then I can assure you that our relations were entirely and always those of an employer towards a young lady whom he never conversed with, or ever saw, save when she was in the company of his children.
Holmes rose from his chair.
I am a rather busy man, Mr. Gibson,
Said he.
and I have no time or taste for aimless conversations. I wish you good morning.
Our visitor had risen also, and his great loose figure towered above Holmes. There was an angry gleam from under those bristling brows.
What the devil do you mean by this, Mr. Holmes? Do you dismiss my case?
Well, Mr. Gibson, at least I dismiss you. I should have thought my words were plain.
Plain enough, but what's at the back of it? Raising the price on me, or afraid to tackle it, or what?
Well, perhaps you have a right to a plain answer?
Said Holmes.
This case is quite sufficiently complicated to start with, without the further difficulty of false information.
Meaning that I lie?
I sprang to my feet, for the expression upon the millionaire's face was fiendish in its intensity, and he had raised his great knotted fist. Holmes smiled languidly and reached his hand out for his pipe.
Don't be noisy, Mr. Gibson. I find that after breakfast even the smallest argument is unsettling. I suggest that a stroll in the morning air will be greatly to your advantage.
With an effort the Gold King mastered his fury.
Well, it's your choice. I can't make you touch the case against your will. You've done yourself no good this morning, Mr. Holmes, for I have broken stronger men than you.
So many have said so, and yet here I am.
Said Holmes, smiling.
Well, good morning, Mr. Gibson. You have a good deal yet to learn.
Our visitor made a noisy exit, but Holmes smoked in imperturbable silence with dreamy eyes fixed upon the ceiling.
Any views?
He asked aloud.
Well, Holmes, it seems to me that this is a man who would certainly brush any obstacle from his path. And when I remember that his wife may have been an obstacle.
Exactly. And to me also. When I considered the passionate tone of his letter, it was clear that there was some deep emotion which centered upon the accused woman.
He is sure to come back. Ha! Isn't that a ring? Yes, there is his footstep. The Gold King had re-entered the room in a more chastened mood than he had left it.
I've been thinking it over, Mr. Holmes, and I feel that I have been hasty. I can assure you, however, that the relations between Miss Dunbar and me don't really touch this case.
That is for me to decide, is it not?
Yes, I guess that is so. You're like a surgeon who wants every symptom before he can give his diagnosis. I guess most men have a little private reserve of their own in some corner of their souls, where they don't welcome intruders. But the object excuses you.
The truth?
The Gold King paused for a moment as one who marshals his thoughts.
I met my wife when I was gold hunting in Brazil. Maria Pinto was the daughter of a government official at Manaus, and she was very beautiful. It was a deep, rich nature, too, passionate, whole-hearted, tropical, ill-balanced, very different from the American women whom I had known. Well, to make a long story short, I loved her and I married her. It was only when the romance had passed that I realized that we had nothing, absolutely nothing, in common. My love faded. If hers had faded also, it might have been easier. But nothing could turn her from me. If I have been harsh to her, even brutal as some have said, it has been because I knew that if I could kill her love, or if it turned to hate, it would be easier for both of us. But nothing changed her. She adored me in those English woods as she had adored me 20 years ago on the banks of the Amazon. Then came Miss Grace Dunbar. She answered our advertisement and became governess to our 2 children. The whole world has proclaimed that she also is a very beautiful woman. Now, I will admit to you that I could not live under the same roof with such a woman and in daily contact with her without feeling a passionate regard for her. Do you blame me, Mr. Holmes?
I do not blame you for feeling it. I should blame you if you expressed it, since this young lady was in a sense under your protection.
Well, maybe so,
said the millionaire.
I guess all my life I've been a man that reached out his hand for what he wanted, and I never wanted anything more than the love and possession of that woman. I told her so.
Oh, you did you?
Holmes could look very formidable when he was moved.
I said to her that if I could marry her I would, but that it was out of my power. I said that money was no object, and that all I could do to make her happy would be done.
Very generous, I am sure,
said Holmes with a sneer.
See here, Mr. Holmes. I came to you on a question of evidence, not on a question of morals.
It is only for the young lady's sake that I touch your case at all. I don't know that anything she is accused of is really worse than what you have yourself admitted, that you have tried to ruin a defenseless girl who was under your roof. Some of you rich men have to be taught that all the world cannot be bribed.
To my surprise, the Gold King took the reproof with equanimity.
That's how I feel myself about it now. I thank God that my plans did not work out as I intended. She would have none of it, and she wanted to leave the house instantly. Why did she not? Well, in the first place, others were dependent upon her, and it was no light matter for her to let them all down by sacrificing her living. But there was another reason. She knew the influence she had over me. She wanted to use it for good. Well, she knew something of my affairs. They are large, Mr. Holmes, large beyond the belief of an ordinary man. I can make or break, and it is usually break. She believed, and said that a fortune for one man should not be built on 10,000 ruined men. She found that I listened to what she said, and she believed she was serving the world. So she stayed, and then this came along. Can you throw any light upon that?
The Gold King paused for a minute or more, his head sunk in his hands.
One explanation came into my head. There is no doubt that my wife was bitterly jealous. She was aware that this English girl exerted an influence upon my mind that she herself never had. She was crazy with hatred, and the heat of the Amazon was always in her blood. She might have planned to murder Miss Dunbar, or to frighten her. Then there might have been a scuffle and the gun gone off.
That possibility had already occurred to me. Indeed, it is the only obvious alternative to deliberate murder.
But she utterly denies it.
I have no doubt we can get the necessary permits this morning and reach Winchester by the evening train. When I have seen this young lady, it is very possible that I may be of more use to you.
There was some delay in the official pass, and instead of reaching Winchester that day we went down to Thor Place, the Hampshire estate of Mr. Neil Gibson. He did not accompany us himself, but we had the address of Sergeant Coventry of the local police, who had first examined into the affair. He was a tall, thin, cadaverous man with a secretive and mysterious manner. He had a trick, too, of suddenly sinking his voice to a whisper, as if he had come upon something of vital importance.
"Anyhow, I'd rather have you than Scotland Yard, Mr. Holmes,"
said he.
"If the Yard gets called into a case, then the local loses all credit for success and may be blamed for failure."
I need not appear in the matter at all. If I can clear it up, I don't ask to have my name mentioned.
"Well, it's very handsome of you, I am sure. Now, Mr. Holmes, there is one question I should like to ask you. Don't you think there might be a case against Mr. Neil Gibson himself?"
I have been considering that.
He may well have wished his wife out of the road. And these Americans are readier with pistols than our folk are. It was his pistol, you know.
Is that clearly made out?
Yes, sir. It was one of a pair that he had. We never quite matched that particular pistol, but the box was made for two.
A walk of half a mile or so across a wind-swept heath, all golden bronze with the fading ferns, brought us to a side gate opening into the grounds of the Thor Place estate. From a clearing we saw the wide-spread house, half Tudor and half Georgian, upon the crest of the hill. Beside us was a long, reedy pool, Thor Mere it is called. Our guide paused at the mouth of this bridge, and he pointed to the ground.
That was where Mrs. Gibson's body lay. I marked it by that stone.
I understand that you were there before it was moved.
Yes, they sent for me at once. Mr. Gibson insisted that nothing should be moved until the police arrived.
How did the body lie?
On the back, sir. No trace of a struggle, no marks, no weapon. The short note from Miss Dunbar was clutched in her left hand.
Clutched, you say?
Yes, sir, we could hardly open the fingers.
That is of great importance. It excludes the idea that anyone could have placed the note there after death in order to furnish a false clue. The note, as I remember, was quite short. I will be at Thor Bridge at 9 o'clock. G. Dunbar. Was that not so?
Yes, sir.
Did Miss Dunbar admit writing it?
Sir?
What was her explanation?
Her defense was reserved for the assizes. She would say nothing.
Granting that the letter is genuine, why was this lady still clasping it in her left hand? She did not need to refer to it in the interview. Does it not seem remarkable? I think I should like to sit quietly for a few minutes and think it out.
He seated himself upon the stone ledge of the bridge, and I could see his quick gray eyes darting in every direction. Suddenly he sprang up again and ran across to the opposite parapet, whipped his lens from his pocket, and began to examine the stonework.
"This is curious,"
said he.
"Yes, sir, we saw the chip on the ledge. I expect it's been done by some passer-by."
The stonework was gray, but at this one point it showed white for a space not larger than a sixpence.
"It took some violence to do that,"
said Holmes thoughtfully. With his cane he struck the ledge several times without leaving a mark.
"Yes, it was a hard knock. In a curious place, too. It was not from above but from below, for you see that it is on the lower edge of the parapet. It may have nothing to do with the matter, but it is a point worth noting. I do not think that we have anything more to learn here. Then we can go."
We went up to the house first and saw the neurotic Mr. Bates. He showed us with a sinister relish the formidable array of firearms which his employer had accumulated.
Mr. Gibson sleeps with a loaded revolver in the drawer beside his bed. He is a man of violence, sir, and there are times when all of us are afraid of him.
Well, Watson, we have come on a good many facts, and yet I seem some way from my conclusion. Dinner was over at 8:30, and all was normal up to then. I must confess that the case would seem to me to be very black against her if it were not for one thing.
And what is that, Holmes?
The finding of the pistol in her wardrobe.
Dear me, Holmes! That seemed to me to be the most damning incident of all.
Not so, Watson. It is my only firm ground for hope. We must look for consistency. Where there is a want of it, we must suspect deception. Do you tell me that after carrying out so crafty a crime you would forget to fling your weapon into those reed beds, but carry it home and put it in your own wardrobe? When once your point of view is changed, the very thing which was so damning becomes a clue to the truth.
Next morning, in the company of Mr. Joyce Cummings, the rising barrister, we were allowed to see the young lady in her cell. I can never forget the effect which Miss Dunbar produced upon me. One felt that even should she be capable of some impetuous deed, nonetheless there was an innate nobility of character. Her dark eyes had in them the appealing, helpless expression of the hunted creature who feels the nets around it, but can see no way out.
Perhaps Mr. Neil Gibson has told you something of what occurred between us?
She asked in a low, agitated.
Yes, you need not pain yourself by entering into that part of the story. I am prepared to accept Mr. Gibson's statement as to the innocence of your relations. My dear young lady, I beg you to have no illusions upon the point. All the cards are at present against us, and we must do everything that is possible if we are to win clear.
I will conceal nothing. She hated me, Mr. Holmes. She hated me with all the fervor of her tropical nature. She misunderstood our relations. She loved so vividly in a physical sense that she could hardly understand the mental, and even spiritual, tie which held her husband to me. I can see now that I was wrong to remain.
Now, Miss Dunbar, I beg you to tell us exactly what occurred that evening.
I received a note from Mrs. Gibson in the morning. It lay on the table of the schoolroom. It implored me to see her there after dinner, and asked me to leave an answer on the sundial in the garden, as she desired no one to be in our confidence. She asked me to destroy her note, and I burned it in the schoolroom grate. I could only imagine she did not wish her husband to know of our interview.
Yet she kept your reply very carefully.
Yes. I was surprised to hear that she had it in her hand when she died. I went down as I had promised. When I reached the bridge, she was waiting for me. Never did I realize till that moment how this poor creature hated me. She was like a mad woman. Indeed, I think she was a mad woman. She poured her whole wild fury out in burning and horrible words. I did not even answer. I could not. It was dreadful to see her. I put my hands to my ears and rushed away. When I left her, she was standing still, shrieking out her curses at me, in the mouth of the bridge.
Where she was afterwards found?
Within a few yards from the spot.
And yet, presuming that she met her death shortly after you left her, you heard no shot?
No, I heard nothing. Indeed, Mr. Holmes, I was so agitated and horrified by this terrible outbreak that I was incapable of noticing anything which happened.
Then we come to the all-important point. This pistol that was found in your room, had you ever seen it before?
Never, I swear it.
When was it found?
Next morning, when the police made their search. On the floor of my wardrobe under my dresses.
You could not guess how long it had been there?
It had not been there the morning before, because I tidied out the wardrobe.
That is final. Then someone came into your room and placed the pistol there in order to inculpate you.
It must have been so.
There was some sign of violence on the stonework of the bridge, a perfectly fresh chip just opposite the body. Could you suggest any explanation?
Surely it must be a mere coincidence.
Holmes did not answer. His pale, eager face had suddenly assumed that tense, far-away expression. Suddenly he sprang from his chair, vibrating with nervous energy.
Come, Watson, come.
What is it, Mr. Holmes?
With the help of the God of Justice, I will give you a case which will make England ring. You will get news by tomorrow, Miss Dunbar.
It was not a long journey from Winchester to Thor Place, but it was long to me in my impatience, while for Holmes it was evident that it seemed endless.
Watson, I have some recollection that you go armed upon these excursions of ours.
Yes, I have my revolver on you.
I produced it from my hip pocket. He undid the catch, shook out the cartridges, and examined it with care.
It's heavy, remarkably heavy. I believe your revolver is going to have a very intimate connection with the mystery.
We secured a ramshackle trap, and were at the house of the sergeant.
A clue, Mr. Holmes. What is it? It all depends upon the behavior of Dr. Watson's revolver. Now, officer, can you give me 10 yards of string?
The sun was setting and turning the rolling Hampshire moor into a wonderful autumnal panorama. As we approached the scene of the crime, I could see that my friend was deeply agitated. As he walked, he had firmly tied one end of the string to the handle of the revolver. We had now reached the scene of the tragedy. He then hunted among the heather and the ferns until he found a considerable stone. This he secured to the other end of his line of string. He hung the stone over the parapet of the bridge so that it swung clear above the water. He then stood on the fatal spot with my revolver in his hand.
No for it.
At the words he raised the pistol to his head, and then let go his grip. In an instant it had been whisked away by the weight of the stone, had struck with a sharp crack against the parapet, and had vanished into the water. Holmes was kneeling beside the stonework, and a joyous cry showed that he had found what he expected.
Was there ever a more exact demonstration? See, Watson?
He pointed to a second chip of the exact size and shape of the first, which had appeared on the under edge of the stone balustrade.
You will get a grappling hook, and you will easily restore my friend's revolver. You will also find beside it the revolver, string, and weight with which this vindictive woman attempted to disguise her own crime.
Late that evening, as we sat together smoking our pipes in the village inn, Holmes gave me a brief review of what had passed.
I fear, Watson, that I have been sluggish in mind. I confess that the chip in the stonework was a sufficient clue, and I blame myself for not having attained it sooner. It must be admitted that the workings of this unhappy woman's mind were deep and subtle. Her first resolution was to end her own life. Her second was to involve her victim in a fate worse than death. A note was extracted very cleverly from Miss Dunbar, which would make it appear that she had chosen the scene of the crime. In her anxiety that it should be discovered, she somewhat overdid it by holding it in her hand. Then she took one of her husband's revolvers. A similar one she concealed that morning in Miss Dunbar's wardrobe after discharging one barrel in the woods. She then went down to the bridge where she had contrived this exceedingly ingenious method for getting rid of her weapon. Every link is now in its place and the chain is complete. Well, Watson, we have helped a remarkable woman and also a formidable man. Should they in the future join their forces, the financial world may find that Mr. Neil Gibson has learned something in that schoolroom of sorrow where our earthly lessons are taught.